What's up, guys and girls? We get a lot of questions about this ride right here. So I figured I'd make a quick video. Well, we'll see how quick it is, and kind of explain all the work we did. Mainly front and rear suspension, but also engine, drivetrain, some of the other little stuff that we put in this. So if you notice right away, obviously we've got 1500 doors and 8 lug full float rear end, front end, all that. And originally this was going to be let me see if I can pull up some pictures here. Originally this was going to go on to let's see if I can pull up a picture here onto, come on, if it opens. And of course it doesn't open on that page. There we go. It was going to go on to this guy. And along the way, doing performance work and owning a shop and being one of the first ones to ever do a lot of this stuff, that one eventually got a blower, got a 4L80, some headers, and a few other things. And we always wanted to get a little crazy with it at some point, and I acquired some. This is actually a Dana 70 out of a Duramax van, like an '09, and I picked up a 6-liter with a 4L80, and it ended up with a 263 transfer case out of a Silverado, and I bought a front diff from the same guy. So we were always going to swap that into that Yukon, and never really got around to it. And this guy popped up, and when I bought it, this is what it looked like from stock form. So had some old Eagle wheels on it, some rusty running boards, had it ran, but the trans was trash as per typical 4L60 lifestyle, and we actually towed it back to the shop with the supercharged Yukon. And I was originally just gonna, throw a trans in it and drive it, and I figured, you know what, I have all these parts laying around, and I'm still driving the Yukon, so why not tear it apart and see what it's gonna take to make it kind of into what I wanted. And we've got a few other ones that we're gonna work on recently to kind of do the same thing as what this blue Suburban ended up being. But we'll do those at a later time. We've got a couple ones, 1500 chassis that we're going to swap in 8.1s, 14 bolts, same kind of deal with the blower. And the main reason I like the 4-link in the back versus the leaf springs is you have much better ride quality, and you don't have axle wrap problems with the bigger horsepower stuff. So here's a picture of that Dana 70 all cleaned up and painted. Here's a picture of just the housings. We actually have a spare one outside just in case. They're both 373s. I think one of them slightly newer because it's got ABS sensors. The other one does not. But compared to a 10 bolt, this thing is quite a bit beefier. So what we ended up doing, we were in kind of a time crunch to get this part done. So we ended up using one of our mills to actually cut out the brackets to weld on. So we made an upper bracket, a rear bracket for the shocks and a front bracket that does the holes for the 4-link. I basically took a 10 bolt, and let me find the picture here, it's in here somewhere. Basically took a 10 bolt, put it on one of our fab tables, and then measured all the dimensions off of it. So here's a factory 10 bolt bracket setup. So we basically took all the measurements off that. Here's the brackets for the shocks in the back. Here's the stock 10 bolt that came out. And actually no, these are not the sorry, these aren't the shocks, these are the uppers. Everything's kind of turned on its back in some of these pictures. And here was welding in, getting everything kind of tacked in, and some final welding. And I actually cut a block of wood that was the same width as the arm, so we could kind of keep it spaced out properly without having to actually have the arm bolted in or make a metal spacer or something. It worked out just fine. For the coil pockets, we basically took some square tube, cut it down again, put a hole saw through it, and then I welded on these little pucks to center the coils. And for the panhard, we see if I have a picture of it here. The panhard is just a piece of DOM with a Heim tube or a Heim nut on the end of it. There we go. So that's a piece of DOM tubing with a Heim. That's obviously not the finished product. Let me see if I can find the finished one here. There we go. That's better. With a threaded bung on the end of it for a 3/4 inch bolt and a Heim, and it's got a right hand and a left hand, so I can adjust the track if I have to for an alignment. We got it pretty centered at right height, and it worked out pretty good. So the only thing we would have changed, or I should have changed on this, is we bent the brackets for the shocks, and I didn't take into account that when I did the inners. So the shock holes don't line up on both of them. So later on we had to basically weld on a small extension onto the inners and put a little spacer in here to basically allow this to be double shear rather than single shear, but it wasn't a huge deal. I also don't have an e-brake hooked up at this point, and we had to have custom e-brake cables made because obviously going from a Dana 70 to a GMT800 1500 chassis was not something that was very common. The sway bars all hooked up just fine. We just don't have them hooked up in this picture. So here's a picture of the spring pockets or spring perches welded on, and I think that pretty much sums up the rear end. Later on we did put tow bags in the coils in the back. They're just stock 1500 coils, and we put 10,000 pounds on the trailer and don't really have any problems with it. So stock front and rear arms, or stock upper and lower arms, sorry, never had a problem with those. At some point we were going to replace them with tubular ones, but we've never really had any issues with them. So we did have drive lines down in Southern California as a buddy of ours make us a rear drive shaft, and we had them do 1350 joints front and rear, since we did do a 4L80 and 263 transfer case in this. So everything was obviously a lot different than the stock rear end. So the front end was quite a bit more involved, and being that I own a machine and fab shop, it was still fairly doable, but it was quite a bit of work to get everything in there and make it all sort of function. So and again, this was back in 2018. This was 7 years ago. So if I am forgetful on some of this stuff, sorry. Basically, you have to cut out all the mounts. So this was on the lower driver's side. There's a mount here that we had to cut off. There is also a mount. Let me see if I can find the pictures. There we go. This is the upper one that is on the front by the gearbox, the steering gearbox. We had to cut most of that one off as well. And the cast bracket, we actually were able to reuse the large bracket that goes from, here we go, on the right hand side here. We're actually able to reuse this bracket over here. So the way that we had to do these up is we had to weld on an extension here, and let's see if I can find some. I usually take better pictures than this. So originally, there you go, you can see in this picture. So we reused this cast bracket, drilled a couple new holes in it, and I can show you, took pictures of it here. Where are they? Well, here you go. Here's the location of the original studs versus these ones. Now I did have to move it forward just a little bit because the flanges for the CVs would actually hit they would have hit the bolts for the arms. So they would have basically on the other side of this bolt would have ran into the bolt itself. So I don't think I have a picture of that, but so putting the front diff in like this and moving those holes outwards and forwards a little bit, I was able to get this level and square in the vehicle without anything hitting as far as the CV flanges. We welded this bracket in here. You can see how much lower from the original hole this one has to be, and then we added in this other piece here with the bolt to go through for a double shear on that point, and then the upper mount that is by the gearbox is the same kind of thing. I basically welded a flat plate on there, threaded a piece here so we didn't have to try to hold a nut on the backside, and then a bolt goes in from the top there. So none of it again was a direct swap fit. And in this picture you can kind of see the mounts are similar. The stub shafts are, I believe, almost the same. They might actually be the same. Obviously the housing from here to here is longer, and the whole thing is a little bit wider from the flange to flange, but the mounts are roughly in the same spot, but they're not close enough to just essentially bolt in. So and you can see in, I think it is in this picture here, let me find it. So you can see in this picture, if it opens, let me close all these real quick and we'll restart our gallery here. There we go. In this picture, that's the lower control arm bolt hole, and in the other picture where I reinforced for the double shear for that lower bolt, there we go, we actually had plated that over and drilled new holes. We were going to run adjustable camber upper ball joints, but by the time we did all this, I figured, and we had already done all the ball joints on the arms, so I figured, you know what, I'll just re-drill these holes. So the front and the rear one were both re-drilled and plated and moved out about 3/4 of an inch to get rid of any camber that we couldn't get rid of with the alignment keys. So and then the upper joints, the upper ball joints for the knuckles, let's see if I have a picture of the knuckles here. I don't think I do. I'm really bad at taking pictures on some of this stuff. No, I do not have pictures of the knuckles, but the 2500 knuckles have a larger upper ball joint. So we basically took the, let me see if I can find just a regular picture of these. Well, it's a video, but there you go. So just a tapered spacer to go from the one side to the other. There you go. And yeah, there it is. So, and so that took care of all the ball joints. We used all the 1500 steering, transferred right over. Everything aligned just fine, and it drives nice and straight down the road. So the other stuff here, let's see, what else do we have? Probably one of the biggest changes that we did on this was doing the 6-liter with the blower, and I'll pull up a picture here of that. This was sort of an in-progress picture. So 6-liter headers, just a 317 headed LQ4. It's got the early Gen 3 press pins, and it's got our front drive on it, our adapter plates, one of our lid spacers, set of our fuel rails. That was before the lid spacer went on. And for those of you who are doing a GMT800, the easiest way to get to the back of the lid bolts is to pull the wiper cowl and actually drill a couple holes in here and put some Dynamat or sealing tape on there when you're done. And it's pretty easy to get back there and get to those. There you go. You can see pictures through those holes of the back of the motor and of the lid bolts. Here you can see it with the actual lid spacer installed as well. And it fits pretty well, even with head plates and lid spacers. There's still a decent amount of clearance. Here's a more finished picture. There's still clearance under the cowl. So we were running the stock cable driven throttle body for a while, and then we did end up going to when we did the Holley Terminator, which, that's the wrong picture. When we went to the Terminator, we swapped back to a drive-by-wire. So, and you can see this was quite an involved process. We basically took the factory harness apart, used all the powers from the factory fuse block and anything we could that was part of the OEM harness to integrate in to actually make it not really a plug and play, but we didn't want to have a separate fuse block, separate relay block for everything, just to have the Holley put in. So yeah, this was quite a bit of spaghetti for a little while, but all of the Holley stuff, when we tied it in, it's all concentric twisted TXL. Everything's, you know, Raychem, DR25 wrapped. The Holley ECU is all ran back under the tunnel on the trans and up through the center console, and it's actually under where the cup holders are. So it's a pretty clean install. You pop the hood, and you know, even when you look at stuff, let's see, I think this one was after, yeah, this one was mostly after. Some of this got loomed temporarily, and we went back through later and did DR25. But oh no, actually this is the old loom, still on a stock computer. I don't think I have any current pictures of the new setup. I think this was during the wiring here. So, but so we did a 80E, just a stock setup with a, let's see if I can find it here. No, maybe in the exhaust folder. No, not in the exhaust folder. Let's see. No, they're not in a folder, I guess. So in the, so yeah, just a stock 80E with a shift kit, and there we go, there's one picture, and one of the derail deep pans. So we like these pans mainly because you don't have to run a weird filter. The standard filter sits right on top of the tubes, so you have extra capacity under the filter. So if you have anything that falls down to the bottom of the pan, it has less chance of getting picked up. And it was just what we had. So and then we have a 263 transfer case, which was kind of a pain in the butt on its own, and I'll explain that here in a minute. And then headers, Y pipe, and then we did so Speed Engineering headers and our own custom Y pipe, and our custom engine mount that we made. So this piece is actually ovaled out a little bit to clear under here, and everything's been V-banded, and it basically goes back to a stock ball coupling here, and just has a large 3-inch MagnaFlow in and out, single in and out, and seems to be plenty. This is not something that's made to do, you know, maximum horsepower. This is our, you know, sort of our tow rig. So, you know, it sees $6,000 once in a while, but usually that's if I'm trying to show somebody up on the highway. So it does have, here's a picture of the motor when we were putting it together. So it is just a LQ4 stock rod, stock piston, stock crank, ported heads, and it does have an LSA cam in it. So it has a single bolt Gen 4 cam in it, and what we did is we basically took a single bolt, so that's a single bolt cam gear right there, and obviously it's a 4X, so it won't work on an LS1 ECU. Now, if I would have known I was doing the Holley right away, I drove it for a couple years on the stock ECU, so it was a while before we did the Holley. And the way we did that is we took a regular 1X cam gear, and we actually put it in the lathe, and we bored it out to the same depth as a standard 4X cam gear, and then we put a larger hole in the middle. So if you look at it in stock form, that hole is a little bit smaller than a single bolt. Luckily for us, the dowel references in the same location on each one, in accordance or in relation to the top dead center marking on the cam. And then we always check the thrust play on the thrust plate to make sure it all goes together. So that was our, you know, sort of our cheap way of getting a very inexpensive, you know, a boost cam versus something like a stock LS6 cam or something like that. So this was, this thing makes about 16 pounds. So it's a pretty robust setup, and you know, we haven't had any issues with, you know, bending rods or anything crazy with how hard we we beat this thing up. So there you go. So yeah, early stock, weak Gen 3 rods, no fancy ARP hardware. The only thing it's got is ARP head studs. So and just regular. There you go. Here's a picture of. So SPS actually ported these heads for us. He went to go work for Frankenstein and now works for Whipple. So pretty good set of heads on there, and they've been great. And here's what here's what we pulled apart. Here's the 5.3 that was in there. So we needed a little bit of work, and this is definitely something a little bit nicer. One of the things we did have to do with the headers, and this is pretty common on these when you put headers on these, is that steering shaft little bellows always likes to rub. So we ended up just making our own mid shaft, and you can see here also we ran the 4-port exhaust crossover. Let's find another picture here. There you go. So 4-port steam ports, and you can see this points towards the throttle body, and the one that we basically do is we take that and we just gently bend it up so we can run it up and over the snout. So pretty basic stuff there. And this was a 240,000 mile LQ4 that it started out as, and we pulled the bearings and everything out of it. We didn't even replace the bearings. I gapped the rings. That was the bearing, one of the bearings that came out of it, and we didn't even replace them. We basically gapped the rings, didn't even replace the rings, and threw gaskets on it with some head studs, and it's been, let's see, this was in 2018, so it's been 7 years since we built this, and it's still going nice and strong. So let's see, what else do people ask about all the time? So we got front suspension, rear suspension. Oh, the transfer case. So the transfer case, a lot of people ask, you know, do you want to, or can I do a 263 in place of a 246 transfer case? And the answer is kind of. The transfer case control module is different. The wiring is different, and you have to have it programmed for a Silverado, a gas Silverado, so that you can actually get it to go into 4-low. Now ours was programmed for a diesel, so we had to piggyback the, let me pause this here, we had to piggyback the factory ECU to basically tell it to wake up, because the serial data is what tells the transfer case control module to actually turn on, and it also gives it the VSS speed data, neutral, safety, tells it when it can shift into 4-low, when it can shift on the fly, and whatever, all the information that it needs. So the diesel one, it doesn't actually get the right commands to tell it when it's in neutral or park, because the diesels have an Allison versus a 4L80, and it gets that information from the TCM. So we don't have 4-low yet, because I need to get another TC transfer case control module. There we go. I need to get another one of those and swap it out, but we really don't need 4-low anytime up here, especially with 700 horsepower. But the push button 4x4 works just fine, and it's all wired the same as what you would find in like a Silverado. But we did just run a brand new harness from the transfer case control module to the transfer case encoder and the front diff and up to the buttons, so we wouldn't have to deal with any of the wiring that was in the existing looms. So here's when we did the first test of actually getting it functioning, and it actually works on the fly with it just not even you know, with everything in gear. So, and there we go. Now we got 4-wheel drive, and then it'll go right back into 2-wheel drive. We did quite a bit of driving. This was right before I was going over to Idaho for Christmas, so we did quite a bit of driving through some pretty good snow, and this was all pretty hard packed, and I was on some old BFGs, and even trying to get it sideways, it worked great. It didn't even let me really get sideways, and you know, it ran, it worked pretty flawless. So yeah, other than that, it's been a great workhorse. We got a few other ones in the works to hopefully sort of replace it as the tow rig. But you know, if I'm pulling around 10,000 pounds of drywall, or you know, doing all sorts of stuff, it doesn't skip a beat. So hopefully that answers some questions. Yeah, it's still on a full 1500 chassis, 1500 suspension, other than the front knuckles and the rear axle that we grafted in the front diff. It uses the 2500 CV shafts, and yeah, I think even the brake hoses and everything were all essentially reused. I think I did, actually, while I'm thinking about it, I believe the rear end, see if I can find a picture, and hopefully, I honestly can't remember what I did for rear brake lines. I don't know if I reused the stock ones because they have a similar style T on them. Most of this is stripped off here when we were building this thing. But if anyone's curious, I can always jump under there and take a peek and try to remember what we did. Let me see if this one has a picture of anything with the brakes here. Nothing. So it looks like we have the brake line coming down here, but that might be the diff vent. So anyways, if anybody have any questions, throw it in the comments, send me a message, and I'll try to get back to you.